category of research design and specific research design used. You may draw a diagram to elucidate the research design chosen. Please do include references for the description of your research design. Make sure that the references is coming from a reliable source. And number 7, discuss why the research design chosen is appropriate or applicable in your study. In what sense it is applied in your study, and how do you arrive answers to your objectives and research questions using the research design chosen. Right, now before we go to the next activity, let's have a review first between descriptive and inferential statistics. I told you before that your research design is largely dependent on the research questions and, of course, on what you would like to achieve in the entire process of the research. So, the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics that you will be using highly depend on the questions, the research questions. So, let's take a look at the differences between the two. Alright. So, to summarize, the tools that you will be using in descriptive statistics would include mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, frequency. This is used for questions that would start with what is the level of this one, or what is the demographic data of the respondents, something like that. Now, for inferential statistics, you will be using t-test, analysis of variance, because these types of statistics are used for measuring hypothesis. So, that would include questions that have the following statements, like, is there a significant difference between this and that, or is there a significant relationship between this or that? So take note that those types of research questions would be your statistical hypothesis as well. Now let's go to the next activity. Fill out the information above first: the research title, the research design that you used, and the thesis statement. Now, you need to fill out this table based on your research questions. The research questions are your specific objectives of the study. So in the first column, the specific objectives of the study are the research questions. So you write them there from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So on the first row, you write the first research question, and second row, the second research question. On the second column, you need to identify whether you will be using a descriptive statistics or an inferential statistics for that, and specify what statistical tool you will be using. The third column, here, you will be filling out what will your respondents be, and the coverage of your respondents. For example, if they are students from where, and if you're going to test the entire group or the entire population, or you will be getting only a sample. The fourth column is about your data collection method, whether you will be using survey, checklist, Likert scale, or experimentation, and you need to discuss the entire process. On the next column, we have here the question: do we need to calculate the sample size? And then describe the process of drawing sample size from the population. So what sampling technique will you be using? So most probably this will include probability sampling because it's a quantitative research. Now, in some instances, you will need to show the calculation of how you're going to solve for the sample size using the Sloven's formula. Now, if experimental testing, that is for the last column, if you will be using experimental testing, whether it's quasi or true experimental design, describe the process of experiment or treatment and how the data will answer the question. I have made a sample here. So my research title is Localized Module as Means to Enrich Experiential Learning. The design is quasi-experimental, pre-test, post-test design. The thesis statement is this: the study aimed to determine the effectiveness of the developed module in enhancing experiential learning and thus improving performance in Earth and Life Science. So here are the things that I did. For example, for the first question, what is the level of learning experience of students before exposure to the learning module? So the type of statistics that I will be using is descriptive statistics here, specifically mean and standard deviation, because I will be getting the level of experience of the students, so it's going to be in average. The respondents will be the grade 11 students. I will be getting a sample only, not the entire population. What method of or what data collection method I will be using is that I will be using a researcher-made Likert scale questionnaire. So this is validated by at least 3 individuals. And yeah, I will be calculating for the sample size. So out of the population size of 141 students, a sample size of 104 students were randomly chosen at 95% confidence level using the Sloven's formula. Since this is quasi-experimental, I will be answering the last column. So in the process, students will be administered with the tool prior to intervention to determine their level of experience. So the tool will be the researcher-made Likert scale questionnaire, and I will be getting the average of all the students who took the test. Now, the second question: is there a significant difference between the performance of students before and after the interventions? So here we will be comparing 2 variables, the result of their performance before the intervention and after the intervention. So because of that, I will be using inferential analysis, specifically t-test. The same samples. The data collection method will be in the form of a researcher-made test for the subject matter. So this is also validated by some experts. The same sampling method will be utilized, or sampling technique. Now, for the last column, the students will have to answer the tool or test before and after the intervention. Then the mean score of each episode will be analyzed using the t-test. So that's how you answer this activity. Okay. Now, for true experimental research, there's a follow-up. Discuss the steps or processes involved in doing the methods of your study. You may diagram the steps if needed. So here is an example. Alright, you may go